Hello, hi, hello, hi there. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Wendy Ivy Martinez, also known as the Geek Goddess here on this channel. And today we are doing my September TBR. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's go ahead and get started with the books that I plan on reading for a book club that I'm in, and that is It Starts With Us. This one I have to finish because I have a book club with my mother-in-law and her mother, and we are reading It Starts With Us. We read It Ends With Us, now we're reading It Starts With Us. If you guys don't know this story, this is one that I don't recommend you even look up the synopsis. You can look up the triggers, just in case it's triggering for you. I didn't look up the triggers. I went in completely blindly and I was blown away by it, but please look up the triggers and just go in blindly with an open mind, because the first book was like, I really enjoyed it. I loved it. The second one, It Starts With Us, this one is a kind of a back and forth between a sequel and a prequel, because we're finding out what happened to one of the characters beforehand, before it ends with us, and also the characters after the first novel. So that's what I'm reading for my book club. So that's one of the books that I'm reading in September. The next one is a reread, and that is The Assassin's Blade by Sarah J. Maas. This is technically the prequel to the Throne of Glass series, but this one is, I'm reading in the romantic order, the order that Sarah J. Maas recommends. It's also the order that I personally feel is best, and so I'm reading it third. Okay, so instead of Queen of Shadows, I'm jumping into this one, or fourth after Heir of Fire. And so I'm excited about this one. I absolutely love Throne of Glass. I've explained it in pretty much every TBR video, but if you guys don't know, in this series we are following our main character, Selena Sardathian. So Elena came from this like place where she was an assassin, and then she ends up getting caught and she gets thrown in the salt mines. So the king's son, the prince, ends up getting her because he needs a champion, because the king's about to have like a tournament where he gets like all these like assassins and stuff together to basically fight and see who would be the king's champion, and he really believes that Selena has a chance. So that's why he's chosen her to be her champion, and in return, in like 3 years time, she would get her freedom back. So I really enjoyed that series a lot. That's literally just a synopsis of the first book, and it gets so much bigger from there. This is, like I said, the prequel. I really like this one a lot. The series, this is my least favorite of all of them, but I still want to reread everything so that I can get to Crescent City, because I already read ACOTAR. So next is going to be the books that I am reading for some reading vlogs. So I am doing a few reading vlogs this month. I am doing reading books by Hispanic authors, and I'm doing reading books in Spanish for Hispanic Heritage Month. So I'm currently reading one now, and that is The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. And I also want to read Destrozame, or I think in Spanish I think in English it's the Shatter Me series. So I want to start off with, I know I don't really read YA, but I want to read YA in Spanish because it's a little bit easier to read than like adult books. And even though technically Spanish is my native language, like I was born speaking Spanish, I stopped speaking Spanish like at like 4 or 5 because I've always lived here in the US. It's just my parents were immigrants, I wasn't. And so after I started learning to speak in English, I just kind of left Spanish behind. And although I do speak Spanish, I speak it a little bit brokenly. Like, I'm still pretty fluent. I know how to read it, obviously write it, but I could be a lot better. I wouldn't say I'm exactly fluent in it. So reading things like this is definitely going to help me. I don't know what the Shatter Me series is about. It says La piel de Julieta es mortal. So it seems like her skin kills people. Celda. So she's in a cage for 264 days so that she doesn't touch anyone, because the last person that she touched, she killed. So there's something wrong with her skin, it looks like. I believe this is like a romantasy series, a YA romantasy. So I'm excited to read this. I'm going to make a whole vlog about it where I read things in Spanish because I've never actually physically read a book in Spanish like ever in my life. So I'm excited for that. I've always wanted to. Ever since I was a teenager, it's like been in my mind to read a book in Spanish, but I just never did. So I'm so happy to finally be doing that. The next reading vlog that I have coming up is I want to read books by Hispanic authors for Hispanic Heritage Month. So I got 4 here. I'm probably going to read only 3 of these, but I don't know which ones I'm going to choose. So for sure, I'm going to read Mexican Gothic by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. This is a classic. This is the author of Gods of Jade and Shadow, which I think I gave it like a 3-star read. This takes place in 1950s Mexico. I believe it's like a Gothic horror ambiance, sort of horror vibes, about a haunted Mexican mansion. And so I really want to read this one. I'm excited for it. So it says it's Lovecraft meets Brontes in Latin America, and after a slow burn start, Mexican Gothic gets seriously weird. We love weird things. Okay, so that's Mexican Gothic. The next one that I want to read for Hispanic Heritage Month is another Mexican author, because that's one of my goals, is to read more Hispanic authors and books in Spanish, just because I want to be more in tune with my culture. So I also want to read Monstrillo by, or is it Monstrillo? I have the urge to call it Monstrillo, but it's Monstrillo by Gerardo Samano Cordova. And this one is basically, I'm scared to read this one because I know that this one is going to break me. This is about a mother who loses her son, right? Her son ends up passing away. And then there's this creature that comes in, and I think she thinks it's her son, or it grows from the lung of her son, and it becomes this creature. And so she takes care of this thing because she thinks it's her son that has like passed on, and you know, now he's just like this monster. You know, everybody's gonna be a little bit weary and frightful at the fact that this woman now has a monster. So I'm pretty sure it's gonna be like Frankenstein sort of vibes. That's what it gives me. And I know that it's going to, oh look, a modern Frankenstein. Yeah, so I know that this one's probably gonna end up breaking me and I'm going to cry, but I really do want to read this. Now I have to choose between 2 books. So I have Like Water for Chocolate by Laura Esquivel, and then I have The Dangers of Smoking in Bed by Mariana Enriquez. I have to make sure that these are Hispanic authors. I don't know if they're both Hispanic authors. I don't know if this one's Hispanic Latinx authors. I believe they both are. So I have to choose if I want to read, because I have 2 horrors and we are making our way to October. Do I want to read a horror or do I want to read a cozy fantasy? Because I do have a reading vlog coming up like later on in the year where I want to read cozy fantasy, but we shall see. We shall see. I've been wanting to read Like Water for Chocolate since like last year now, and I have also had this one since last year. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know which one I'm gonna choose, but I know I believe this is a collection of short horror stories, and in this one it is a cozy fantasy, or a cozy romantasy, or a cozy romance. But I know that it has a lot of like, what is it called? Recipes, and it says it's just become America's literary memory. It's like a classic. This is like considered a classic now. So we shall see which one I choose to read. Depends what mood I'm in. But they're both about the same thickness. They both have about the same amount of pages. So we will see. We'll see how I'm feeling. Okay, so lastly, for my reading vlogs, I want to do a reading vlog where I read books based off of like classic monsters, like zombies and ghosts and vampires. I'm also going to do a reading vlog where I literally will go to Universal Studios, and I want to have the monsters pick out what I read for October. So we'll see how that goes. I'm excited for that. But I also want to read, this isn't going to be until October, but I'm just getting prepped and primed. Don't know if I'm going to actually make it in September to read all these books. But you know, big dreams, big dreams. So first we have The Whispering Dead for zombies, because I believe this one is about zombies, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm wrong, I don't know. I just remember reading this I was inside Barnes & Noble, and I was like, this book sounds so good. Like, I need this in my life. And I picked it up, and I just never read it. So I need to this is a part of the 24 books that I want to read for 2024, and I want to make sure I complete that list. I try to complete that list, and I feel like I'm so behind, so I definitely want to read this one. Another one that was on that list is a good one for ghosts, and that is The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. I literally started it and I'm halfway through. I still remember everything that happened. Like, it stuck out in my mind, so I just need to finish it. So that's that one. So I will be reading this. This one is about a woman who basically has always been able to talk to deceased people. However, she does not, like, she pretends that she just doesn't see these deceased people. Like, she doesn't want to be that sort of like medium anymore. And her family owns a like funeral home or something like that. So her dad ends up passing away, and she has to go back to her hometown. And she's basically a writer. So she gets this new boss, and then she goes back to her hometown, and she says, I'll finish the book, don't worry. She goes back to her hometown, and then all of a sudden her boss shows up at her doorstep dead. Her very handsome new boss shows up at her doorstep dead, and he's like deceased, and she's pretending not to see him, but at the same time she's very curious because she's like, what exactly happened to you? And he's like, I don't know. So this one seems like a really good book. So far, I was really enjoying it. I don't even know why I stopped. I don't even remember, to be honest with you. So that's those two books as well. So, and then lastly, but certainly not least, I wanted to read this book in August. Didn't get the chance to. I was so far behind. I had so many things going on. My mother-in-law came. Kids are going back to school. I had some mental health issues, but we are getting better. We're trying to be back on track. I'm trying so hard not to go backwards, and so hopefully we do better with our reading, and I want to read this one. So that is it, you guys. That is all the books that I want to read in September. My overly ambitious September TBR, because come on. Like, this is not gonna happen, but we'll see. We'll try. So this is my September TBR, you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell to be notified when I post. I post once to twice a week. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Please hit that like button as well, and comment down below let's do a little butterfly. There's a butterfly to let me know that you reached the very end, because all of that really helps my channel, liking, subscribing, all that stuff. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!